What are you seeing there? Because we've already heard from some Fed members, including Kashkari, including from Jay Powell, who've talked about the impact of immigration on the labor market, the positive impact, I should say, on the labor market in recent months and years here. What does it look like out there in your region?
Well, first of all, thank you for having us here. Well, I think you referred to it a little bit, right? Perhaps the most important job we have as regional economists at the regional banks is to try to understand the economy of the region, not only through that available data that's out there, but also by connecting with folks in the business and community. So as my colleagues and I traveled across the region, more often than not, business leaders will point to immigrant workers as part of the solution to address their labor needs. So that just made me curious to know how the states within the Federal Reserve's 9th district were doing. Especially being this far north, usually you hear about the impact of immigration in this country as a whole, or in states in the south. Yeah. But this far north, there's also an impact from that. Immigration has been steadily growing, and therefore the participation of immigrants in the labor force. You referred to North Dakota earlier. Yeah. In North Dakota in 2010, about 3% of the total labor force was foreign-born. Today, that is 6%. So, that tells you a little bit that as the economy grows, as demand for workers grows, they are also filling some space there. And
I was looking at some of the data that you put out in your report. That I saw the national average for foreign-born workers was somewhere closer to 18-19% or something. Where are a lot of those workers concentrated? Is there sort of one industry where you see more of them represented than others?
Particularly in North Dakota, we have heard anecdotally, and I'm in the middle of looking into more details as far as industry concentration. Some of them are actually in the healthcare and social services sector. That's not counting what type of occupation they're in. As an industry, they have a tendency to hire. That could be nurses, that could be support staff. We're hearing some working in taking care of the elderly. So that is happening a lot. And as a matter of fact, in North Dakota, as I was talking to some contacts when I was working on this particular piece, they will tell us that people are coming from East Africa, for example, the Philippines. A lot of doctors are coming in and filling those roles that they have open in hospitals. But they're all over. Your guest just referred to some of the industries in which they're most concentrated in.
Yeah, I am curious, and forgive me if this is kind of a dumb question, but obviously when we talk about immigration here in the U.S., we focus a lot on the southern border. I can understand why you would have a high concentration of foreign-born workers in some of those southern states, whether it's Arizona or even in California. You are obviously in a region that is far removed, at least from the southern border. I know you have a Canadian border up there here. Why are some of these foreign-born workers ending up in Minneapolis, North Dakota, and some of those other upper Midwest states?
The answer is a little bit more simple than you think. You have one immigrant in front of you talking to you right now. Word of mouth, or family connections, friend connections. We have a tendency to gravitate towards where the community is already established, where they are telling us there are jobs. So immigrants will have a tendency to follow, word of mouth referrals, if you want to.
And of course, you're not collecting all this data just because you're interested in it. Obviously, there has to be some sort of economic impact, maybe even a potential impact on monetary policy. Is there a way you can articulate that for me?
Well, when you think about the dual mandate that the Federal Reserve has, right, keeping an eye on prices, stable prices, and maximum employment, it's good to understand the composition of the labor market. I think it is as simple as that. Understanding what the labor market is, who are the players in the labor market, I think it is important. What those dynamics are, it is important. And that's the reason why I've become more interested in tracking this particular aspect of it.
Have you gone back in time and really looked at kind of like the past history of immigrant workers in the labor force and what that impact was on the labor market and the economy?
I have not. I have not taken a deeper look in that regard.
Do you plan to? Because there's been a lot of discussion here about whether this is positive for us or whether, again, if you look at it through a political lens, some people would say negative. But, you need that empirical data to make this argument less political and, I guess, more sensible.
I think there is a case for continuing to look at what the data is telling us. In this particular case, census collects a wealth of data, taking a look at what the current population survey has out there. I mean, these are surveys of about 60,000 households nationwide, that can tell us what the labor market is, what it is made up of, and immigrants are part of this labor market. So it is something that I am definitely interested in looking into. How far back, I don't know, because we are in a constant need to know what is happening today in order for us to be able to report to the public and to our leadership.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to look at that.
All right, Eric. Well, this is some great research. And of course, as I'm sure you know, a lot of investors are really keeping a close eye on this. Erick Garcia Luna, he's the Regional Outreach Director over at the Minneapolis Fed, responsible for really tracking, analyzing, and reporting on all these aspects about the health of the labor market in the Fed's 9th District.